This is the steroid that created the most infamous moment in Olympic history. It's called Stanozolol, and it's engineered for one thing: pure explosive speed. Forget endurance, this is about raw, violent power. It basically puts your body's muscle building and recovery processes into hyperdrive, allowing you to train harder and more often than your body could ever handle naturally. The result? A massive jump in strength and velocity. And the most notorious case? Of course, it's Ben Johnson at the 1988 Seoul Olympics. He runs a blistering 9.79 in the 100-meter final, a new world record. The gold is his. The world is stunned. Then the test comes back positive. His medal stripped. His record gone. It was a catastrophic fall of grace that put doping on the front page of every newspaper in the world. And here's the insane part. Several other finalists in that exact same race were later implicated in their own doping scandals. So while sprinters were chasing that explosive edge, endurance athletes were playing a completely different and arguably more insidious game.
This next one isn't about brute strength. It's about cheating fatigue itself. This is about gaming your own blood. EPO is a hormone that tells your bone marrow to go into overdrive, producing red blood cells. Simple as that. Why does that matter? Well, more red blood cells means more oxygen getting to your muscles. And more oxygen means you can go harder, for longer, before ever hitting that wall. This is the drug of choice for the long-distance crowd. Marathoners, race walkers, anyone whose biggest enemy is pure exhaustion. But here's the catch. For years, EPO was a nightmare scenario for anti-doping agencies because it was incredibly difficult to detect. So they had to get clever. They invented the athlete biological passport. Instead of just looking for the drug, they now track an athlete's blood markers over time. If something suddenly and unnaturally spikes, busted. It's a high-tech cat and mouse game. So we've covered raw power and endless endurance. But what about the one thing that connects them both? The ability to recover.
Every athlete knows the real limit isn't the workout. It's how fast you can recover for the next one. And that's where HGH becomes the ultimate cheat code. Human growth hormone does exactly what it says on the tin. It stimulates growth and, crucially, cell regeneration. Think of it as hitting the fast forward button on your body's entire repair process. But it's even more revolutionary than that. HGH doesn't just repair muscle, it reinforces the entire system. Your tendons, your ligaments, everything gets stronger. This lets an athlete handle a brutal training load that would completely break a natural competitor. And you can't talk about HGH without talking about the BALCO scandal. It was the centerpiece of a sophisticated doping ring that brought down stars like sprinter Tim Montgomery. He once held the 100-meter world record before it was all wiped from the books. In fact, BALCO's founder, Victor Conte, even claimed HGH was more valuable for its insane recovery benefits than for direct muscle building. It was the secret weapon that allowed athletes to train at an inhuman level, day after day.
So if all these drugs are getting people caught, how do you cheat the system? Simple. You create a drug that's literally a ghost. This is tetrahydrogesterone, better known as THG, or the clear. It was a designer steroid cooked up in a lab for one purpose: to be completely invisible to any anti-doping test that existed at the time. This was the crown jewel of the BALCO conspiracy. It's the substance that brought down superstar sprinter Marion Jones, forcing her to forfeit all 5 of her medals from the Sydney Olympics. For years, athletes were using it with zero fear of getting caught. So how did they finally catch a ghost? Believe it or not, the entire scheme unraveled because a rival coach anonymously mailed a syringe full of THG to the anti-doping authorities. One act of whistleblowing brought the whole house of cards down. But while BALCO was designing the future of doping, many athletes were still relying on a trusted classic.
If you like the video and want to see more similar videos in the future, subscribe to the channel right now.
Getting strong is half the battle. The other half is surviving the brutal, body-breaking training it takes to get there. And that's where Nandrallone comes in. It's one of the most famous injectable steroids, and it has a unique superpower. Yes, it provides steady gains in muscle and strength, but its real secret is that it actively soothes and repairs your joints. Imagine you're a shot putter or a decathlete. Your body is under constant, violent stress. This doesn't just make you more powerful, it helps you endure the punishment day after day. But here's the most interesting part. The human body can actually produce tiny amounts of Nandrallone naturally. This has led to some of the most controversial and complicated doping cases in history, with athletes desperately trying to argue their test results were just a fluke of nature. Nandrallone is all about steady, restorative benefits. But during the Cold War, steady wasn't enough. They wanted something else entirely, overwhelming and immediate power. This next substance isn't just a drug. It was a state secret, a chemical weapon used to build a sporting empire from the ground up. Meet Dianabol, one of the oldest and most brutally effective oral steroids ever created. Forget steady gains, this was about shockingly fast and massive increases in raw strength. And it became the cornerstone of the infamous East German state-sponsored doping program in the 70s and 80s. Under State Plan 14.25, an estimated 10,000 athletes were systematically given Dianabol. The result? An era of unprecedented dominance, shattering world records that stood for years. And the most terrifying part? The small blue pills were often given to young, unsuspecting athletes who were told they were just vitamins. It's a chilling reminder of how chemical engineering was once used to build entire sporting empires. This next one is a different kind of beast entirely. It's not even an anabolic steroid. It's actually an asthma drug. So how does an asthma drug turn you into a world-class athlete? It's simple. Clenbuterol turns your body into a fat-burning furnace. It jacks up your core temperature and sends your metabolism into overdrive, stripping away body fat. But here's the revolutionary part. It does this all while protecting your muscle mass. For a sprinter or jumper, that's the holy grail. You get lighter, leaner, and more shredded, all without losing an ounce of your explosive power. It's the secret to a perfect power-to-weight ratio. And it's the drug that got German double world champion Katrin Krabbe busted at the absolute peak of her powers. Her career? Over, just like that. But while Clenbuterol re-engineers your metabolism, other drugs go even deeper. They hijack your body's own command center. Why inject HGH and risk getting caught when you can trick your own body into producing it for you? That's the genius behind peptides like GRHP6. This isn't HGH, it's a synthetic compound that sends a powerful signal straight to your pituitary gland and says, release the floodgates. It triggers a massive natural pulse of your own growth hormone. The result is amplified recovery. You can handle a training volume that would destroy another athlete because your body is repairing itself at an insane rate. And here's why it became the weapon of choice for sophisticated doping programs. The detection window is incredibly short. It's in and out of your system so fast, making it a ghost for out-of-competition testing. Oh, and one bizarre side effect? It makes you uncontrollably hungry. So, you can hijack your hormones for recovery, or you can rewrite the rules of energy itself. What if you could make your muscles more efficient? So efficient that they could produce the same amount of energy while using way less oxygen. That's exactly what Meldonium does. This drug was originally created to treat heart conditions, but its effect on athletes is profound. It basically forces your body to stop burning fat for energy and switch to its most oxygen-efficient fuel source, glucose. For an endurance athlete, this is a game changer. It's like increasing your body's fuel economy in the middle of a marathon. For years, this drug flew completely under the radar. Athletes, especially from Eastern Europe, were using it legally. Then, on January 1st, 2016, WADA dropped the hammer and banned it. The result? A massive wave of positive tests across all sports. This is not about building muscle. This is about flicking a switch in your brain that turns off pain and fear. Meet amphetamine, the classic central nervous system stimulant. It floods your brain with dopamine and norepinephrine, creating a state of extreme alertness, insane focus, and pure aggression. But its real power is that it completely masks your body's natural feelings of fatigue. Your lungs are burning, your legs are screaming. The drug doesn't care. It short-circuits your body's own warning signals, allowing you to push far beyond what should be humanly possible. For a sprinter, this is a game changer. It can shave critical fractions of a second off your reaction time out of the blocks. It's a pure neurological cheat code. And believe it or not, athletes have been using this stuff since the 1930s. It's one of the oldest tricks in the book. Every steroid you've ever heard of, it's just a copy of this one. This is the OG, the blueprint for all of them. It's testosterone. It's the body's primary hormone for building muscle, gaining strength, and recovering from brutal workouts. It's the foundation of raw athletic power. So why is it still so popular when there are hundreds of designer drugs out there? Because it's a master of disguise. Anti-doping labs test for it by measuring the ratio of testosterone to another substance in your body. And for years, sophisticated dopers have learned to play a dangerous numbers game, microdosing just enough to get the benefits while staying right under the legal limit. But sometimes they get it wrong, like American sprinter Dennis Mitchell, who got busted with sky-high levels. His excuse? He claimed it was because he drank 5 beers and had sex with his wife at least 4 times the night before the test. It is, without a doubt, one of the most unbelievable excuses in sports history. What if a performance-enhancing drug was hiding in plain sight, right inside your local pharmacy? That's the story of ephedrin. It's a stimulant, way less potent than amphetamine, and it's a key ingredient in tons of over-the-counter cold and asthma medications. But for an athlete, it provides a very real, very illegal edge. It kicks your body's fight-or-flight response into gear, giving you a jolt of energy, sharper focus, and a decreased sense of effort. It's the perfect pre-competition boost to improve your reaction time or fight off fatigue in the later rounds of an event. And because it's so common, it's become the center of countless doping cases where athletes claim they used it by accident. I just took a cold medicine. It's a defense that almost never works, but it highlights the blurry line between medicine and performance enhancement. Forget training for months to build endurance. What if you could just take a pill that did it for you? This substance is so powerful, it was nicknamed exercise in a pill. It's called cardarin, and it's not a steroid or a stimulant. It's a metabolic modulator. It literally reprograms your body at a cellular level, forcing your muscles to burn fat for fuel instead of glucose. The result is a dramatic, almost unbelievable increase in stamina. It gives you the aerobic engine of a world-class marathoner without you having to run a single extra mile. And it's the drug that got the 2012 Olympic gold medalist in racewalking, Yelena Lashmanova, busted. So why isn't this the most popular drug on the planet? Well, there's a pretty big catch. Development for human use was completely abandoned after a study found it caused cancer to develop rapidly in multiple organs. This next drug isn't about making you faster or stronger. It's about helping you get away with it. These are diuretics, and they have one primary purpose in the world of doping: to cheat the test. They're known as masking agents. These drugs make your body flush out water at an incredible rate, which drastically increases the volume of your urine. Why would an athlete want to do that? Simple. It dilutes everything else in your system. Any other banned substance you've taken, steroids, EPO, you name it, gets watered down, potentially dropping the concentration below the level that triggers a positive test. That's why diuretics are banned at all times. Their presence is basically an admission of guilt. It's a sign that an athlete isn't just doping, they're actively trying to cover their tracks.
What happens when you combine two different stimulants into a single powerful chemical cocktail? You get captagon. This drug is a chemical Trojan horse. Once it's in your system, your body metabolizes it into two separate substances, amphetamine and theophylline. The result is a potent one-two punch to your nervous system. You get a massive surge of energy, heightened focus, and a terrifyingly diminished sense of pain and fatigue. It allows an athlete to push past their absolute physical and psychological limits, making it perfect for the final brutal stretch of a middle-distance race. But here's the insane part. In recent decades, captagon has gained a new, much darker reputation. It's no longer known as a sports drug, but as a widely used narcotic in the Middle East, often associated with conflict zones. A drug once designed for the racetrack now fuels a completely different kind of battle.
Building muscle is one thing, but what if you could create new muscle cells that never existed before? That's the terrifying power of IGF-1. This isn't just about making existing muscle fibers bigger. IGF-1 promotes something called hyperplasia, the actual creation of new muscle cells. It's a level of physical enhancement that training alone could never achieve. It fundamentally changes your body's potential. This was the next level stuff. It was used in the most sophisticated doping programs like BALCO, often stacked with HGH to create a synergistic effect that was almost unstoppable. The goal wasn't just recovery, it was to rebuild an athlete into something stronger and more resilient than nature ever intended. And because IGF-1 is a protein that occurs naturally in the body, it has presented a massive, ongoing challenge for anti-doping scientists trying to tell the difference between what's natural and what's not.
This next substance lives in the most controversial gray area in all of sports. Is it a life-saving medicine or a powerful performance enhancer? The answer is, it's both. Meet Salbutamol. It's the active ingredient in most asthma inhalers. And for athletes with a legitimate prescription, it's perfectly legal, up to a certain point. But here's the secret. When you take this stuff in huge illicit doses, it stops being just an asthma drug. It acts as a powerful stimulant, boosts your metabolism, and even helps you build lean muscle. It's an endurance athlete's dream, enhancing oxygen flow and fat burning all at once. This creates a constant battle. Athletes with a therapeutic use exemption, or TUE, can use it, but it leaves a huge question mark hanging over the sport. Where does legitimate medical treatment end and a calculated attempt to gain an edge begin? That line remains one of the most debated topics in anti-doping today. Before designer steroids, before blood doping, before science, there was just poison. This is strychnine. And yes, I mean the deadly rat poison. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, it was believed that a tiny, sublethal dose of this stuff could act as a powerful stimulant, helping an athlete fight off crippling fatigue. The problem? The line between a stimulating dose and a fatal one is almost non-existent. One wrong move and you're dead. And the most infamous case of its use happened at the 1904 Olympic Marathon. American runner Thomas Hicks was collapsing from exhaustion, so his trainers gave him a cocktail of strychnine, raw egg whites, and brandy to keep him going. He won the race, but he was so delirious he had to be medically revived right after crossing the finish line. He almost died. It's a brutal reminder of the desperate, life-threatening measures athletes took before any rules existed.
Our final substance is a steroid known for being gentler, one designed to build high-quality functional strength without the massive side effects. It's called Oxandrallone, and because it was less likely to cause severe masculinizing effects, it became a preferred choice for female athletes. But don't let the word gentle fool you. This steroid was a key weapon in the arsenal of the East German doping machine. It was systematically given to thousands of young athletes, often disguised as vitamins, to build the foundational strength needed to dominate the world stage. The devastating long-term health consequences for those athletes were anything but gentle. From deadly poisons to designer drugs engineered to be invisible, the story of doping in track and field is a relentless century-long arms race, a battle between science and ethics, between the rules and the unquenchable desire to push the human body beyond its natural limits, a battle that is far from over.
All right, for our bonus round, the one substance on this list that doesn't make you faster, stronger, or give you more endurance. In fact, it probably does the exact opposite. So why in the world is cannabis on the banned list? Well, the official WADA explanation is that a substance is banned if it meets 2 of 3 criteria. It enhances performance, it's a risk to health, or it violates the spirit of sport. They argue cannabis violates the last 2. But many insiders believe there's a darker, more cynical reason it stays on the list. Believe it or not, getting caught for weed can be the perfect cover story. Think about it. A positive test for a brutal anabolic steroid makes you a villain, a cheater. But a positive test for cannabis? To a huge portion of the public, it makes you a victim of an outdated, ridiculous rule. It's the ultimate act of strategic misdirection. And there is no more famous and heartbreaking example than Sha'Carri Richardson. She was the fastest woman in America, a phenomenon, an absolute superstar, destined for Olympic gold. Then, right after her career-defining win at the US trials, the news breaks: a positive test for THC. The result was catastrophic. Her Olympic dream was gone, but listen to the public outcry. The outrage wasn't aimed at her. It was aimed squarely at the rule. Her story became a global debate about whether cannabis should even be a banned substance. It perfectly illustrates the theory. A positive cannabis test can create a smokescreen, turning a potential doping integrity scandal into a debate about social justice. It's a way of controlling the narrative. It proves that in the high-stakes world of elite sports, even a drug that makes you slower can become a powerful weapon.
So, what do you think? Should cannabis be on the banned list? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the dark side of track and field, make sure to subscribe. We're just getting started.